Good morning, Lisa here. I have my sun visor up, so there's a shade, but it's pretty bright sun out today. I'm not mad about it. It is a beautiful day. Welcome back to my channel. This is my participation, the way I'm participating in 31 days of witchcraft. This is a tag that was created by Heather Carter. I have a link down to her original video below, so make sure you go click on that and subscribe to Heather because she is amazing. But thank you for hanging out with me as I just talk about the daily topics. So today's prompt, which I am quoting roughly from memory because I'm using my phone to record, was asking if we use if we work with an animal a specific animal spirit. I actually work with a spirit guide who is a unicorn. And I had a really hard time talking about that for quite a long time. But I was sort of nudged outside of my comfort zone in the best possible way by somebody who was sort of requesting that I make a video about working with my spirit guides. And I eventually did that, and that's actually what ended up launching my own Eclectic Witchcraft 101 series, which I'm running on this channel, which is super fun. So I will link actually, which side, I don't know when I'm on my phone which side is going to be the card side, but up in the little eye, I will link the Working with Your Spirit Guides live stream that I hosted, where I talk about this in a lot more detail. But essentially, I kept struggling to connect with the right guide for me. And eventually I met my unicorn guide, and we've been working together ever since. I have before worked with some other guides, and when I'm talking about working with guides in this way, I am talking about working with them on the astral. And that is where I meet up with them. That is where we have our conversations. That is where those meaningful moments occur. But I also think it's interesting to talk about the idea of working with animal spirits or animal guides in real life, like in mundane life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying the astral isn't real. It's more like the day-to-day reality that we function in. And I have had a couple of experiences lately, particularly with birds in my neighborhood, that have really caught my attention. So I don't know well, there's 3 birds actually that have caught my attention. The first one is a little yellow bird. I don't know what kind of bird it is, and I'm really bad at bird identification, unless it's really obvious. But there's this cute little yellow bird. I think it might be a finch or something, about the size of a small parakeet, I guess. No, yeah, maybe about that size. Anyway, he's been like sort of hanging out in the gully that's outside of our building. And so I keep seeing him outside my window, and he seems to keep showing up whenever I'm making videos. And it could just be that that's when I'm looking because I am facing the window, but he just seems really present. And then I had another experience about, a week or 2 ago. I was walking my dogs, and this little, I'm sure this one was some kind of a finch. It was a little teeny brown bird. And he would like land on a branch near where I was with the dogs, and he would kind of chirp and tweet at me, and I'd kind of whistle back at him, and then I'd walk a little ways, and he just followed me. He followed me around the block. It was the strangest thing. I've never had something like that happen before, but like I went even on the busy side of the road where I kind of take, like on the busy road sidewalk where I take my dogs when I'm doing my around the block circuit. I go down this one part of the pathway, and this little bird is still following me. And I actually take a little shortcut that takes me up some stairs beside another building. And he even went like so far as to go like into the little planted area next to the stairs as I was going up. And then we parted ways. But I've just never had a bird like follow me like that. It was really cool. And then strangely, I don't know, this morning, I was leaving my garage, and we have a secure underground garage, so it's got one of those like gate things that lifts up when you leave. And I was taking the dogs out. That's right, it was taking the dogs out again. And a blue robin, like a big, bright, beautiful blue robin, probably a male, I'm guessing, because he had the big like head thing, comes flying from inside the garage before the garage door could lift. And he literally did one of these like moves like you'd see in a movie where he's flying with his wings out inside the garage, and he gets to this gate, that the garage gate, and literally squeezes his wings in so that he can zoom flying through the bars and then opens them back up on the other side. And then he just kind of landed there, and I open the garage and I go out with my dogs, and I'm just kind of standing there looking at him. He's just there hanging out, looking at me. I'm like, interesting. So when things like that happen, when things happen with nature out in the wild, I was going to say, but I don't live anywhere near the wild. But when I encounter animals or wildlife, when I'm out and about in my mundane life, I pay attention to, I guess, what I pay attention to, if that makes any sense. These particular moments with the birds caught my attention because they felt big when they happened. But I've had lots of other encounters with like animals or birds where like you see them and you just kind of make note of them and then move on. These felt bigger. I don't know if that makes any sense. So I start to pay attention when things like that are happening, because I often feel like that's a way for spirit to communicate with us, for divinity or deity to communicate with us. That's just based on my own personal belief structure. So while I wouldn't say that those birds are my guides, I will say that noticing those moments and just being more present when those moments happen is definitely a part of my practice. So I wanted to share that little bit. But as far as my main unicorn guide and I, we've been working together for, I think I finally connected with him it must have been like 2004 or 2005, I think. If I were to guess, that's about when we first met. And it's funny because when I say that out loud, that's a long time. That's a long time because we're in 2020 now. So I guess that's what, 16 years. But it felt recent because it felt like it took me, and he kind of said as much to me when we first met, but it took me so long to meet him because I was so resistant to the idea of a unicorn guide, because anybody who's known me for half a second knows that I absolutely love unicorns. And I just didn't want my guide to be like a trope or something. You know what I mean? Like I was very resistant. And I talked about this even in much more detail in that live stream, which I linked. So if you're interested in a lot more detail about my experience working with guides, that's definitely the place to go. But short answer, yes. And it's almost that I'm embarrassed. It's sometimes because I feel like it's like somebody's like, I work with Raven, and somebody else is like, I work with Wolf, I work with Bear. I'm like, I work with Unicorn. And I feel silly, but it's been actually a pretty incredible experience. And I don't like to minimize it with my own like worry about what other people are going to think. But I definitely get caught up in that sometimes. And I think particularly I'm extra resistant because when I was a little baby witch, I was very fluffy and very like love and light, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I was teased a fair amount about just how love and light I was. And I'm sure that doesn't surprise anybody who watches me here, because I get a lot of comments that I have that kind of personality. But it felt like I wanted to be more badass, right? I just wanted to be a little more badass. So, but to be completely honest, my unicorn guide he's pretty badass. So I don't have any worries that way about my actual experience. It's more the perception of my experience that I think I get hung up on, which is a little bit silly to me because then I miss out. When I'm too hung up on it, then I don't, I guess, create space for other people to have their authentic experience and to know that it's okay. So like, I guess this is my way to say to you that your guide can come in any kind of form. And if you're open to working with guides, and if you're interested to working with guides, be open to how they might show up for you, because it's not silly or wrong for your guide to be a mythological creature or for your guide to be an angel, even if you're very, very witchy. There's nothing wrong with that. Your guide could show up in the form of, I'm going to probably get some people mad at me, but your guide could show up in the form of a popular religious figure that has nothing to do with witchcraft, like Jesus or Mother Mary or Mary Magdalene or any of those kind of characters or archetypes. I think, in my personal opinion, whether it's an animal or a different form, your guide, if you choose to work with it, will be in a form that will have lessons for you, that will have messages for you. And I think that's the most important piece, because my working with my unicorn guide, unironically, had a lot to do with my self-worth path, had a lot to do with how I accept myself, how I embrace my true nature. That was a lot of our work together, and it still is a lot of our work together. And so that form makes sense. I don't know if I'm going to explain it in a way that will make sense to other people, but it certainly makes sense to me. There's a piece of self-acceptance there. And there's also a piece where I had to reach a place where I was open to that message and where I could hear that message before we could work together, which is, I think, why it took until 2004, 2005 for us to connect, even though I had been doing astral work and meditation work for 10 years before that. So yeah, I guess that's what I have to say about this topic. I think I probably ventured away a little bit from animal guides, but that was my experience. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you are enjoying the 31 days of witchcraft. I'm really enjoying these little moments in the morning to just talk to you guys and check in. I don't know how people feel about this many videos for me in their feed, so if you have feedback, let me know. I don't know what I would do with something like this, but I really do enjoy these little touch points. So we'll see how it goes throughout the month. Weekends, I tend to not do them in my car because I'm home. So you'll probably see more at-home content on the weekends, but we'll see. I'd be curious to see what you guys think of this experience and this more casual format for my videos. But in any case, I'm going to sign off for today. I hope you have a beautiful day or afternoon or evening, wherever you might be. Remember to like this video, leave a comment down below if you want to talk about your animal guide experience. And don't forget to share this video if you know people that are into this topic or would appreciate this content. I really appreciate that support. And remember that if you would like to book a tarot reading, you can do that with me over at supportivetarot.com. Thanks so much, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.